like I mentioned at the top of service, we're going to do a series here. We're going to do a 5-week series on the 5 basic unity principles. And as a correlation, Dave is going to be teaching the 5 principles class right here in the sanctuary and online immediately following. And as I also mentioned at the top, I really feel for myself, and with everything I have going on and everything that's going on in the world, it is really a time to slow down, to get simple, and to go back to core foundational stuff. And I knew it, when I was a performer, whenever you were experiencing things that were out of control, you went back to technique, right? You go back to the basics, to the solid core. And with the world reacting so violently to every turn in the pandemic, and so much accusations and blame and anger, it's time to come back to the truth. And our first unity principle, if you don't know it, is this: there is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life: God. No qualification on that. Right? There's only one. And that's a big, big statement to take in and to truly understand. And it has taken me all the 30-something years I have been sitting in Unity communities to really even begin to wrap my mind around it. And every time I think I got it, I find myself slipping back in other areas of consciousness where something's out to get me, or someone's doing something against me. If there's only one power and one presence active and working, why do I think this power and presence is working against me? Is my enemy? And you see it all through our consciousness, our life. So today, the best way to change that, I've always found, that shifting consciousness, is music. So I'm going to invite our music team up here to reinforce our basic first unity principle. There's only one power in the universe, one power in our lives: God.
There's one power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power, indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. As simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you call it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, have different clothing, different colors, different names. But difference is only dangerous when we forget that in the heart we're all the same. We'll remember once we close our eyes to see that such distances were never meant to be. It's Mohammed, it's your mind, it's your soul, it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. But whatever name you call it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you call it, it's the very air we breathe. It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. Oh, one power, one power, one power, It's the moment of creation. It's an everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the bright light of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby, the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon for love that is most deep. It's one power, one power. What we are is It's the power of the love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. Oh, one power, one power, one power.
Marcus J. Page, Callie Carvajal, and Cleo Briggs. Woo! One power. Yeah. 15 years ago, I heard that song for the first time at Unity of New York, Daniel Nahmod singing it. And the earworm of remembrance that there is only one. There's only one, and I can count on it. It's the power of the love within. And one of my favorite lines in the song, although there are many, is it's the anger we abandon and then let God out. That the anger is what the block is. The anger. So once again, there is only one presence and one power active as the universe and in our lives. God. And as I say that, I know God's a triggering word. Right? Some of you are going, ooh, can it be spirit? Can it be goddess? Can it be anything other than the word God? Right? And so acknowledge that. And can we abandon the anger that trigger is? For some well-meaning but misinformed nun beat you over the ruler because you didn't get the catechism right? Or because of the patriarchy and the sexism inherent in organized religion and in the world. Because of the abuse you might have experienced at the hands of organized religion, and therefore God. Would those entities, organization, and people don't represent the highest level of divine expression. They, like us, fall short frequently. One of them, of course, is my faith of origin, the Catholic Church. which commissioned this amazing work by Michelangelo. This is a picture of creation, of Adam being created by Michelangelo. It's on the Sistine Chapel and up on the ceiling. And of course, it is all white people. And it's all male, God's a man, Adam's a man. The lineage is patriarchal. But there's also some subversive stuff in this painting. Michelangelo was great at subversion. He painted Adam with all his ribs, because he didn't agree with Scripture that Eve was created from one of Adam's ribs. He painted Adam with a navel, with a belly button. If he was the first man created by God, who was he born from? Why did he have umbilical cord? Right? And so, but there's also some other subtle things in it that we get to look at and to embrace as our consciousness unfolds around what God is, what the divine is, and how it works in our life. In the studies I've done of this painting and online and at school, the cape, the shroud that God appears in with all the cherubim, is in the perfect shape of the human brain, brainstem and all. And then there's a great saying that says, in the beginning, man created God in its image. And that we have been the ones that have created this idea of God creating us. That there is this one power that we all spring from, so there can't be an A and a B. It's all one. It's all one power. You, I, all of us, think about it, exist in God, as the divine in human form. And there is no separation. So the idea that God one day said, let there be light, and there was, is a human concept trying to explain how we exist in our evolution. And one of my teachers in school was so amazing, Reverend E.J. Niles. She's started to order the Bible in levels of consciousness, how it was written. And trust me, it's a massive undertaking because the Bible was written by hundreds of different authors over a 1,000-year period of time, and it represents some really significant shifts in human consciousness. Let me give you an example of one of them. So all of us know the Adam and Eve story. In some form or other, we've all been told it or read it. It comes in Genesis 2, the second book of the Bible as we understand it today, but it was actually written first, and it is the oldest written literature we have in the world. There is no written story that we have as humankind that is older, as a full narrative written out that we've passed down, than the Adam and Eve story. But it has some really, really old consciousness in it. So Adam and Eve and God are all existing on the same plane, and they can see each other. And then Adam and Eve get tempted by the snake, a serpent, do something wrong, and then they're hiding from God. And God's walking on the earth looking for them, and he can't find them. So some supreme deity that is, right? But then at that moment, they are also kicked out, and we have all been living since east of Eden, out of Eden, because we think we are separate from God. We think that we're not in paradise. And we've all accepted this, and we keep reinforcing it in all of our language, in all of our songs, in all of our sermons, in all that when we talk about God, it's always out there and up there and somehow not us, because we're just human and we could never measure up. But is that really the divine's impression of us? When you look at the evolution of consciousness in the Bible, you can see very clearly of man making God in his own image, making him spiteful, making him vengeful, turning his people into pillars of salt because they dared to look back as their city was being destroyed. Oh, God, that's some punitive God. That's not the God of my understanding. And as we just sang about and we talk about, God is love. Love. It's the anger we abandon and the love that lives forever in you and me. That love that forgives everything over and over again because it knows it's not the truth of who we are. So when we can let go of that judgmental, punitive, distant, male, old, angry God up in heaven, we can see that God is our capacity for love. God is the absolute beauty in our flaws. God is the power of the darkness that cracks open a seed and makes a new tree. God is that energy, that force that keeps this planet and this universe spinning. Endless growth and possibility. God is that which we can never describe. And the minute we try and give it a name or set some parameters around it, we're not making it God, we're making it limited. We're making it closer to our understanding in this human form. So you can experience God. I know some of you have had moments of transcendence and power and revelation. And our goal is to make them more and more frequent by practice and by repetition, to remember who we are and what's infinitely possible. No, the serpent is not evil. My favorite line, it's like, oh my God, when I joined New Thought, this is from Marianne Williamson, I had this great revelation. There is no devil stalking the earth trying to find my soul. Whew. The only place the devil lives is in my mind. And what a horrible place for it to be. Right? Yes. The devil's not out there, folks. The devil's in here telling us that you're not good enough. Did that person really hurt you and you should hold a resentment about them? They deserve to be punished. The devil is the one who tells you that if everybody paid attention and were doing things right, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in. Always it's someone else. Or we turn it in on ourselves and go, I am not good enough. They're going to find out I'm faking this. Well, which one of us isn't faking it? Truly. Which one of us isn't doing the best we can with what we know, given unparalleledly difficult and new circumstances we face every day of our lives? Which one of us isn't making it up as we go along? Right? So can we all stop worrying that they're going to find out we're just faking it? Because we all are. 10 years ago when I became a minister, I didn't know how to be a minister. I went to school for it, but that tells you one thing. It is quite different to do it. Quite. And I've never ministered in a pandemic. None of my colleagues had, of this stature. We have all lived through, many of us lived through AIDS pandemic. But different. So, when we breathe into that, we can breathe into understanding that God is everywhere possible. If you go through all of the Bible and all the scriptures, you end up in John. And John was the last gospel written. So in biblical scripture, it's some of the last reflections we have on what the nature of God is, right? And in John 1, it talks about this. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So when we affirm something, when we call something out, when we call it good, when we call it whole, when we call it love, when we call it us, we're being one with the divine. We're using our God-given power and potential. He was with God in the beginning. So let's change it, right? She was with God in the beginning. They were with God in the beginning, right? We can use our gender-inclusive language because they didn't know better when they wrote it. So let's make it they were with God in the beginning. In them was life, and that life was the light of all humankind. That light was the life of all humankind. Every bit of life within you is that divine spark. The light shines in the darkness. Your light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. Right? Oh my God, the shift in consciousness from a God who can't find Adam and Eve hiding behind a bush to knowing that we're all one is monumental. And yet, we don't talk about it that way. We think of the Bible telling one story about what God is, when God is more than can ever be described. And the writings since this have all taken it to other levels, including our own first principle. There is only one power and one presence active as the universe and in my life. God the good. Sometimes it's written as, because we're so worried about that punitive God that for many years we always added God the good, so we know what the God we're talking about, not the bad God who punishes you, but God the good, God that's love. Omnipotence. Not all-powerful, all power. The power in you, the power you express is God. The power you claim is God. The power you see all around you is God. All of it is God. It's not that God's throwing out lightning bolts. It's that God is the power you use to get through life, to love, to create, to share, to build. That's the divine. That's what we come here to understand, and not to worship, but to celebrate. God doesn't need us on our knees. He needs us off our knees and being its hands and feet, voice, and arms to wrap around people, to pick them up, to remind them of the truth of who they are. That's our job. That's the divine. It's the power in you, as you, and everywhere around.